York and has won all 7 of her meetings with Simona Halep to take on the Romanian, again seeded 2 here. China Open, 3rd round action beginning. An exchange to begin between the two. Guy McCree and Naomi Cavaday here in the box to take you through this. So much hype around it. Not just since it was confirmed as a 3rd round, but since the draw was made, because of course you're only looking a couple of rounds ahead there. Naturally, observers, tennis fans looking at the good matchups in the draw, and this one stood out in potential 3rd rounds. And you just sense the intensity as well from both of them from the off here. They really want to make the strong start. There's no pulling of punches here in these first few points.
Sharapova will be looking to get on top of the points early on, really lay down her authority in this match. And Halep will be looking to give nothing away. First 3 games, if she can make no unforced errors, that would be ideal.
It's that terrific contrast in styles, isn't it? Sharapova going for it. Halep's superb coverage, defence. Not the best of starts here from the Russian. Halep with 3 early chances to break. Superb start from the Romanian. 7th appearance here in her career, as you can see, for Sharapova. First since winning the title here 2014, beat Petra Kvitova for the title that year here in Beijing. It was quite a run, actually. You look at the tear that she made through the draw. Didn't drop a set till that final with Kvitova. 1-6-3 in the third. Prior to that, Kanepi, Svitolina, Suarez, Navarro, Kuznetsova, Ivanovic in the semi-final. Illustrates how difficult this draw is every year. No easy matches, and look at this for a 3rd round. Of course, some of that to do with the fact Sharapova is still down at 104 in the rankings coming in this week, needing a wild card in.
Well, it's interesting. I don't think anyone expected Sharapova to still be ranked that lowly by this point in the season. She was back on the tour way back in April and started off great. Some really good wins on the clay. But just, as we say, just so many interruptions. It must be so frustrating for her.
It's the first error from Halep. She very, very much forced that one, but it's really the first mistake. She's absolutely on it. These first 4 or 5 minutes. See how difficult it was for Sharapova to win that point there. Force her way through. That's more like it for the Russian. Took charge early there. Just absolutely backs herself every time.
Halep will be prepared and ready for the onslaught. But I think that's what she relishes. I know she hasn't managed to get a win over Sharapova, but a lot of those matches, really everything apart from US Open this year, came when Sharapova was right at her best. And Halep wasn't as experienced as she is now and wasn't ranked as highly and hadn't been right up at the top of the game for as long.
Oh, an absolute ripper. Sharapova breaks straight back.
Halep has to be pretty careful to not feed Sharapova, particularly on that return, because she is so good from that position. And she's in the corner of the court, so she's got angles to play with. She stays up the court, keeps the contact out in front, which means she's taking time away from you. And then also the power, as we just saw on that.
It was interesting, actually, you were talking about the previous meetings, because they've met here before. And I remember, actually, I commentated that match. It was the first round. It's 5 years ago. Sharapova won 5-5. And it was a good way of explaining Simona Halep at that time, because that's before she really kicked on. It's before she made a few key adjustments in her game, which really bore massive fruit in terms of rising up the rankings. I mean, at that stage, very attractive player to watch, wonderful technique, stroke production that she's still got. But it was funny in that match, because although she was a talent, the court position wasn't quite there. She was someone who was just making balls off the baseline at that time. I do remember that match quite well. And Sharapova's intensity also was just a bit too much for her at that stage. Because so much has happened for Simona since then. 5 years is it's a long time in tennis. All those titles, Halep up to 15 career singles titles now. Sven Grunewald applauding on, Sharapova's coach. He's been at pains, hasn't he, when he's been on. I remember one of the consults, he just said, stop going for the lines, and trying to rein Sharapova in. And this really intense, ultra-aggressive approach. That's been his way at times, just to look for her sometimes to play the situation a bit more. He'll be as frustrated as she is with her injuries over the summer, not able, as you said, Naomi, to build up a head of steam.
Yeah, it's very hard when you're playing a super aggressive game, when you don't have that confidence. Very difficult to really understand which ones you can go for and which ones you can't, because Sharapova at her best can go for a lot of these shots and make them at match point down. But with a lack of confidence and momentum, it's much more difficult.
It's also that stubborn, unwavering belief, which is huge part of the reason she's achieved all she has. And as we touched on already, when she doesn't make shots like this for fun, she's kind of wondering to herself, you know, why is that not happening now? And then just goes for it the next time, makes it, and then goes, well, you know, why didn't I make it the previous time? Such a confident individual. But sometimes I think with Groeneveld, he's just keen to stress for her to play the situation a bit more. Not to always just go for the line. Second double. Another chance to break here for Halep. It is another break. 3 out of 3 to begin here. Halep back in. Back a break in front here. Halep 2-1 first set.
We've got to remember as well the motivation for Halep. Of course, Sharapova desperately trying to get back to where she was, really wanting to give herself a nice platform to start 2018, but Halep playing for that #1 spot.
Yeah, she's done on, well, for large parts of the season. I mean, she's had multiple, as you said, multiple shots at it, been a win away on a whole clutch of occasions in big matches. Most notably, I keep going back to the French, because for Halep, she wins that French Open final, takes the #1 ranking. I just wonder what would have happened over the next few months. You know, missed out there, Sharapova. You can talk about the fantastic Wimbledon quarterfinal with Konta, where she was a win away. You can look at the Cincinnati final, Western Southern Open with Muguruza, where she was a win away. But I go back to the French because, I mean, that's career changing. You know, in a sense, you win the title, you go #1 in the world. That was the big opportunity, just because of where she was in the final against Ostapenko. It's a massive opportunity, and it's funny for me to say all this, because it's been such a fantastic season again. I mean, look at what she's doing. Back at the WTA finals. Clutch of titles, over 40 match wins. Tough to be critical in that sense, but you just wonder what might have been if she won that French final. Could have been even more. Started very well here, to be fair, on Sharapova. She's got her hands full in this one.
Yeah, she's been so solid, and as I said, she'd be looking for the first 3 games, no unforced errors. She's actually played 4 games with no unforced errors. Quite interesting, because in the previous game, Sharapova's been trying to punch straight through Halep. And she is the best counter-puncher in the business, and she is showing that off right now. Sharapova opting for the drop shot there. I think she's just starting to panic a little bit. Just got to remember that she's got to be a little more precise with where she's playing the ball. She's got to find some width, and she's got to get up the court to take the time away and try and neutralise that movement of Halep's.
3 winners, just 3 winners so far. Encouragement from Sven Groeneveld. 13 unforced errors for Sharapova across these first 4 and a bit games. Halep 1 winner, but no unforced errors, giving up so little so far, the Romanian.
And Sharapova on 14 unforced errors so early in the match.
Well, the look says it all. This challenge here being made more out of frustration than anything else. Look wide, that one. Looked to be a good call. In trouble again on serve. 2 more break points here for Halep. Brilliant from... This rematch of a few weeks ago built up so much. At the moment, it's going one way. 20 minutes on the clock. Very good start from Simona Halep. Extremely high quality. Maria Sharapova struggling to match it. The evidence at that point, Sharapova's response is to just look to hit the ball harder. She had Sven Groeneveld on for the first time. Just trying to deal out a few points to her. She's been decidedly second best, but of course a long way to go here still, despite the excellent start made by Halep. Eventually finds a way through, punches away through Halep's defences there, Sharapova.
Yeah, she's upped it, hasn't she? She's been met with huge resistance from Halep, who's pretty much just been a wall. So she's not trying to go around this wall or over it, she's just going to drive her way through it.
She's trying to bash her way through because she's getting nothing from Halep, who still hasn't hit an unforced error. 22 minutes in. I mean, it's not Sharapova's way to tease unforced errors out of opponents, but she probably would have expected 2 or 3 at the very least by now. She's getting nothing.
Also, Halep's hitting at a good level. She has also hit 1 winner. She's not just been making balls.
I mean, anything stood out for you from Groeneveld coming on? Anything?
Yeah, he mentioned the drop shot, saying that would be effective. I have to say I kind of disagree against her Halep. She's the quickest player there, and she'll be ready for that. Everybody knows Sharapova has brought that into her game over recent years.
I mean, that is just absolutely first class.
It's so good. It's so good. And also with the drop shot, Halep is not scampering about 3 meters behind the baseline. She's being so strong. She's low. She's up the court. Yes, she's counter-punching, but she's not way back grinding. So I don't think that a drop shot's really on, because she's right up at the baseline, and you know, someone as quick as she is, I think she'll chase that down.
Went back there to the Sharapova backhand, Halep. Something that Halep talked about in New York after she lost their 3 in the third. I think recognised she played a great match. It was a great match overall. How she managed to come back into it, because of course Sharapova led a set in 4-1. Halep came back into it. But the Romanian thing that stood out from her comments was that she felt she could have served better. I think it's something she's really focusing on here in this one. Look at her numbers so far. Over 70% of first serves made, hitting good spots. And she's doing even more than that. I mean, this is superb right now.
It's absolutely ideal. Doing everything she would have set out to do at the beginning of the match. And I think she's really grown from a couple of big losses this year. And I don't actually think necessarily the final of Roland Garros. I think that probably hurt a lot. And I think eventually she will grow. But the tough loss to Konta, I think she played her best match on grass in that one and was just pipped. And there was so much on the line there, and it was a fabulous match. Again, US Open against Sharapova, having to deal with all of that in the first round, you know, being the one to take that on.
I mean, at times Sharapova's got no answer to this. Try as she might, it's Halep with all the answers.
Yeah, she's putting in some big blows, Sharapova, and it's just not having enough effect, or as much as she would be expecting. Halep's just got her timing absolutely perfect, looking very strong, moving side to side on the baseline.
Well, it's taken 26 minutes. We finally have an unforced error. And even there you could argue with it. But it's gone down that way. Looks concerned, doesn't he? Sven Grunewald. Can understand with the scoreline as it is.
Well, really the only answer for Sharapova here to turn this match around, assuming nothing changes with Halep, is you have to play better. There's nothing more to it. There's no clever way, there's no vulnerability you're not exposing. You've got to go bigger and better, stay in the rallies longer.
Yeah, just with the game style, there's not a lot that can change, really. It's just a case of doing it, trying to do it a bit better. Not really a game style where there's a plan B, C, D, you know, different options. Nowhere to get out of that service game. Half an hour played. It's been quite a watch so far. Maybe not so much for Maria Sharapova and her many supporters. Definitely the case for Simona Halep and her legion of fans. Can she put the seal on a scintillating set? Oh, sumptuous.
Wow, a bit of speed from Sharapova. She had fully committed to chasing that down, though. So if Halep had seen her and just gone back behind, I think she would have come unstuck. But that is her top speed.
Facing a premium on quality serving here, delivering so far.
That's what Gronefeld really was getting at in the previous match when you were saying not to go so big. It's about where Sharapova is on the court as well. They're pushed right back on the back foot, looking very uncomfortable, but still going huge. That's where the errors come in very early in the rallies. She's got to go for big targets in those situations, get herself back on the front foot, and then she's got a chance to finish the point.
Probably the best set we've seen so far this week in Beijing from a player. Simona Halep absolutely turning it on. Takes it off Maria Sharapova, 6-2 in 32 minutes. All know about the Russians' powers of recovery. Starting the second here, Sharapova. Look at those two meetings, Naomi. Final of Madrid, 2014. Halep was set up there, lost in 3. And again, quarterfinals of Cincinnati later on that season was a set-up in that quarterfinal. Again, lost in 3. Do you get a different feel here?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's Sharapova. I mean, I've never seen a player that can do what Sharapova does from positions in the scoreline. I've seen her match point down and still the favourite to win the match, even though it's not even that close. Like a set 5-2 match point down and comes through and wins it yet again, as expected. In terms of a player to play well under pressure, she's as good as it gets, or has been historically. Now she's obviously in a very different time in her career. She's having to deal with a lot of stuff that she's never had to deal with before. being out of rhythm. She never had really such a long break, other than we were talking before about the shoulder surgery she had back in 2009. It took her quite some time to really get back from that. But to be honest, if Halep maintains this level, and that's a big if, I don't think there's anything Sharapova can do here. This is, I mean, ultimately as matchups go, this is not nice for Sharapova. This is not the sort of player she likes to play against, particularly when they're playing as well as Halep right now. And I don't know how she's going to punch her way through.
Opens her account there. Oh, she was fully respectful of that. You're touching on it. You know, she was asked about it by the journalists here. You won all 7 of the meetings. She's got to be feeling confident. She said, I can take something from that, but a lot of those matches, I was in pretty difficult positions and I found a way. I'm with you. The matchup's actually not, for someone who's won all 7, you think, okay, there's something here in the matchup that she really, really likes. And I'm not sure about that. I think mentally she's as strong as they come. And you look at some of those matches, she's pulled through on her intensity, on her mentality as much as anything. You look at the recent matchups, Halep, she finds it very tough to hit through her, and Halep's able to move her around as well, which we know Sharapova's always made improvements there, but always struggled there, being pushed out wide through her career. So there's areas where Halep can hurt her, and we've seen that here so far. Same again. Second ace of the game.
And the big difference from the matches where Halep was a set-up and went on to lose is everything that's happened in between now and then. She's a very different player, much more experienced. Doing really well there, just staying steady and then getting Sharapova deep in that corner, forcing her to panic. A good rally. I feel like Sharapova was very close to just to hitting the next level, which she needs to do. She probably needs to go even a little further than that at the moment, but got to take it one step at a time. Trinity just rushed it ever so slightly. It dropped short.
Broke Sharapova 3 times in that first set. Very good conversion rate in the opener. First chance of this second for Halep. Surely he'll challenge there. Thinking she'll get another first serve here. Indeed she does. Done. More watched.
Thing she was looking to do.
Telling herself, though, again mindful of what's gone on in the past, it is just one set. As I mentioned, been in this position a couple of times before against Sharapova and failed to win the match from there.
Well, there are a lot of differences between these players, and I think the biggest one is self-belief. Because Sharapova, her self-belief is just extraordinary, even at times where maybe it shouldn't be. And Halep, when she's done everything to give herself that self-belief, it just falls away from her. And we saw that in the French Open final. We've seen that with how emotional she's been throughout the year, even though it's been, on the whole, a very, very good year for her.
That's excellent. Brilliant mentality there. Missing the break point, but a love game in response. Puts Sharapova straight back in. Really isn't doing much wrong here right now, Halep. Took a chance superbly.
Well, Halep actually over-spinning a shot short. Ended up being quite uncomfortable for Sharapova, really pulling her out of position. of her matches, Sharapova, throughout this year, or maybe not all of them, but in a lot of them, there have been patches where the concentration's gone, because that's another thing that people forget. You train that with match practice. She's obviously lacking in that department, and there have been times where she's gone off.
Clearly can't afford it here, the way her opponent is playing. Halep is close to her best right now. Two more chances to break. And there it is. You've got to say it's been coming again as well. She's putting relentless pressure on Sharapova here, and it's telling. Andre Parts of terrific quality from Simona Halep. And frankly, it doesn't flatter her to be in this position right now. A set and a break up, 2-1 serving in the second. Fully deserving of it. That was into the slot. Sharapova delivered. Needs a quick strike back here. You feel the Russian. Just good enough. Bit too much work for Halep to do that time.
No, well, she really had pushed Halep back deep. That was the key before that drop shot. It still had to be very good, though.
I just feel these next few moments so important for Halep because of what's gone on in the head-to-head. It's never really in any of the matches from memory. Yep, she's been a set-up on a couple of occasions, but then kicked on and got a good lead in the second as well, where she could really start to believe. Challenge from Sharapova. It looks like a couple of presents from the Russian there from 15-30. Can ill afford to gift them out.
Well, you can see what she was trying to do, take out all of the risk by going right back at Halep, but maintaining the really high aggression, but just a couple, bit too much.
Holds from 15-30. Sharapova was knocking at the door, but couldn't kick on. Set and 3-1 now to Halep.
Wow, that anticipation from Halep. She put in that serve, saw Sharapova setting up on the forehand, and before she'd even started her forward swing, Halep was sprinting over to that corner, knew it was getting crunched there. She had her as well, didn't she? Sharapova committing to that corner, covering the forehand.
Even there, I mean, Sharapova's put in a very good serve, got on top of the point, but Halep turning it round. It's got to throw some further doubt in Sharapova's mind. Might be a point at 40 love, but frankly, would have expected to have won it from there. Can't repeat the dose, Halep, and Sharapova does score the hold. Pretty much an hour played then. An hour that's gone firmly Simona Halep's way. Still some way from clinching this. Setting the break up 3-2 in the second over Maria Sharapova. Continues to get those sorts of freebies. Keeping her out in front despite Sharapova's best efforts.
Yeah, numbers not really looking too good. 32 unforced errors now, racking up that total, and only the 13 winners.
And generally a couple of them a game, aren't they, Naomi? I mean, even look at last service game, 15-30. Halep was down and then got a couple of freebies. Just eases the pressure.
Yeah, and a lot of, I mean, they all go down as unforced, but I mean, the work Halep is putting in, and she's making these unforced errors, because how else are you going to get it past Halep? It's understandable, so.
Well, it's a great point you make. I mean, that's an unforced error, but you even look at Halep here overall. What is it, 6 unforced errors for the match? You could argue, I'd say, with 2 or 3 of them, they will have been forced there as well. I mean, she's just verging on. She's giving virtually nothing away here. Nothing really for Sharapova to work with. And it's another love hold and another game closer to what would be a huge win. Andre Pavel staying calm. Stepping in, of course, Darren Cahill, Simona's regular coach, who isn't here.
Yeah, the thing is, for Sharapova, she needs to miss less. She needs to hit a lot less unforced errors if she wants to turn this match around. But she can't back off on the aggression, because then Halep will just expose her movement. She will hit a couple of wide balls, one back behind, whatever it is, and Halep will be right on top of the point. Yeah, that's it, really. It's like I said after the first set, Sharapova just has to do it better. There's nothing to change other than to bring the unforced errors down, but you don't want to do that by backing off, because, okay, your unforced errors will be looking a lot better, but the scoreboard won't be any different.
No, not with the way Halep's playing. There's another. Generally 1-2 a game. Going the way of Halep like that. Up to 35 unforced now for the match, Sharapova. Pressure just growing and growing. Even here you see in this game mixing up her height as well a little bit more, Halep, thinking, I mean, this has been a superb hour, but she's even trying to add a bit more. Notice there, a little bit more cover, a bit more topspin as well. Really concentrating on the depth. It's working out. Well, that's moving dangerously.
Behind that point, it just got bigger and bigger and bigger from Sharapova, didn't it? But this is what she's always done. Whenever her back's against the wall, she goes closer to the line. She goes for more power.
Oh, anticipates, and she's made that. That is absolutely outstanding.
Unbelievable reading of that ball. As soon as you saw her make that move over to the side, Sharapova had committed, hadn't seen her go. And just squeezed it off the line.
Second break point.
Been enjoying that inside-out forehand, Sharapova. And getting much better position. She gives herself so much space on it so she can really launch into it. It's very easy to get tucked up. It's interesting on that one. I just thought she would have pulled the trigger again to the backhand side. Simona's she's even stronger at defending on the forehand than she is on the backhand, and Sharapova's had some success in that corner.
Literally is just clinging on at the moment, Sharapova. No, it's not good this time. She saved, of course, a break point that way. Going cross. She's challenging, of course. Such a big moment. Will it get her out of trouble? The answer's firmly no. Halep does have. Simona Halep maybe expecting it to be a bit tighter at this stage, but it hasn't been, and that is in no small measure down to how the Romanian has played here. Serving for the match. She's not there yet, but she's very close now. That's another one. Maria Sharapova, of course, has pulled round so many bleak situations that you never write her off, but this would be something, and mainly to do with the fact that Halep is playing. Well, where would you put it, Naomi, on this? I mean, is this close to her best or her best level that you can see from Simona Halep here, this hour and 10? I mean, you've watched her a lot. I mean, both watched her a lot over her career, everything that's gone on. This performance here, this hour and 10 minutes, is this the best she can play?
Well, I think it's very close. I think it depends on the sort of challenge. You think back to the Conta match at Wimbledon, I think that's the best she can play on that surface.
But you've got Sharapova here. You've lost all 7 of the matches as well. You know, very, very difficult opponent for her in the past. Bear that in mind.
It's an extraordinary effort from Halep. I mean, Sharapova has not lost a match in straight sets. She's not this year. She's not played a match where she hasn't won a set. And Halep has really dismantled her out here. It's been an exceptional performance.
The serving has been a bedrock behind it. As good as she can serve. She mentioned in New York that was the bit she was disappointed about in that thriller, losing out. Not her general performance, but her serving. Like everything else here in this one, it's been absolutely dialed in. 2 match points. Simona Halep beats Maria Sharapova for the first time, and what a way to do it. That, as a performance, is right up there. A demolition job. Outstanding from the second seed. Just an hour and 12 minutes. 4 games surrendered. And she's through to the quarterfinals here at the China Open.
Absolutely superb.